For this example, we're asked to find population mean and population standard deviation for two different groups, for some males and females of, in this case, elephants. And we're given this data in groups as well of age. Notice there's these age ranges. We could think of that as binned data. Okay, so I'm going to show how to accomplish, solving this problem using StatCrunch. So let's open our data in StatCrunch. We've got lots of information here. You've got the bins or the groups here in this first column. Those are the ages. There's some additional stuff here about the lower limit and the upper limit. It's just like kind of teasing out the individual pieces of those groups that we're presented with, or bins we're presented with here with the ages. And then we have the actual ages of males and females. I believe the first thing we were asked for was population mean and standard deviation of males. Okay, so coming back to StatCrunch, I'm going to go to Stat, Summary Stats, and Grouped/Binned Data. My bins are in the age column. For the first question, we're asked about males, so I'm going to select the counts of each bin, like groups of ages, are in the males column. And then I only need the mean and standard deviation of the population, which means I'm going to select mean and unadjusted standard deviation. And when we compute, we get the following information here, and I'm just going to now type that into my MATLAB. I do want to say a little note here, though, that if you're doing this by hand or with the TI-84 calculator, you might get something slightly different for the mean, but my MATLAB is able to accept those slightly different answers here for mean. If you'd like, go back to our Moodle course, check our additional resources here in this week's page, and you'll see the playlist in Chapter 3, and I've got another video where I go through the same problem with the TI-84 calculator. Okay, so up next, we're going to do the same thing, but with the females. So let me bring back up StatCrunch. So I'm going to select Stat, Summary Stats, Grouped Binned Data. The bins are the ages. This time the counts are in the females column. But again, we only need mean and unadjusted standard deviation since we're asked about a population. So now I have these values, and I'm going to now type these into my MATLAB. After that part of the problem, this part C is really asking you just to compare some things. So in particular here, we're comparing which gender has the higher mean age. So we'll look at the two means, and I see that the females have a higher mean. And part D asks which gender has the higher dispersion in age. And in other words, a measure of spread or dispersion is standard deviation, and the higher one comes from this one, which was from the males.